Hello and welcome to another episode of Honest to Malt with myself, Duncan Donuts, and Mike, aka Two Puds. How you doing?
Very good, very good. Happy to see you so quickly. We are recording this 2 days after the last one. I haven't even edited episode 77 as it stands.
It's kind of part two though, isn't it? So
Part 2. Hot Shots Part 2.
Yeah, Hot Shots Part 2.
Could it be one of those ones where the second in the series is better than the original? Who knows?
Oh my God, Hot Shots Part 2 was an amazing film.
Yeah.
There's not many films.
Aliens, better than the original?
Yeah, Aliens better than the original. You'd be hard pushed to find number twos that are better than number ones.
I enjoy a good number 2.
What is the name of the episode today then?
So we are episode 78 and it's Loch Lomond, the Coat Rack Release.
Coat Rack Release.
Yeah.
We had a beautiful
Special
tour.
edition. Special
edition.
release.
Yeah. We had a lovely tour from Gary Mills of Loch Lomond Distillery on day 4 of Glasgow.
Yes.
So we're kind of starting really at day 3, aren't we? But before we get into all that, we'll probably whip through day 3 fairly quickly. Before we get into all of that, has anything been up your arse or in your glass the last 2 days?
What's been in my glass? I have had some drams. I finished off a Lindor's Abbey, John Fryer, something or other.
That made its way back from Glasgow, didn't it?
It might have made its way back from Glasgow, yeah. That's it wasn't a full bottle, but there was a good 10 servings in that, I reckon. So that's gone. Concentrated on that.
Good effort. Gold star.
Yeah, gold star. I thought so.
Great job. If you can't hand yourself a little plastic gold medal, who's going to give you one?
No one.
Well, Mike, what are those gold medals in your whiskey room for? It's funny you should ask that. I like to hand myself one when I feel like I've drunk too much
all
alcohol.
from myself. Yes. Well, I didn't want to just let that bottle air for 30 days, just going dull and stale. So I had to get rid of it. Duty bound and all that.
See it off.
What's in my glass at the moment is the Signatory Vintage Secret Speyside M, which I haven't drunk before. I don't think I haven't tried one, so it's nice. I've got a couple of bottles en route. They are available as we speak on House of Malt. So I've bagged 3 of those, 2 for me, 1 for the father-in-law for Christmas.
Is that number 27 or number 25?
I haven't got a fucking clue.
They're both basically the same. But
yeah, it'll be the same batch. I guarantee it. So that's in the glass. Yeah, it's nice. It's super spicy. Decent. Good ABV.
Yeah, you can't really fault it.
Nothing more to say on it, really.
It's
very nice.
I think it's one of those ones that just get better once you've got past the shoulder, but it's like thick, full-bodied, bit of Macallan sort of still fighting in there.
Tasty, viscous Macallan, which you don't get very often.
You just drink it and go, God, it's so cheap.
Yeah, you just like a knowing glow going, if this had official bottling status, it would be like $2 grand.
Yeah, I mean, you just pour it into a big tumbler and go, it's cheap as chips, that is.
Yeah. So that's been in my glass. What's been at my arse is a lack of sleep with my wee child Isla, who has come back from nursery with hand, foot and mouth. Yay! So, yeah, I'm not sure if I have to get one of those grates that you have to walk them through before she comes in the house every day. I remember seeing it on TV once. Yeah, something like that.
Or cow grid.
So, yeah, that's been at my arse, and that's landing as we speak. So, yeah. Right. Probably more to follow on the next episode on that and see how that turns out.
Fingers crossed she gets rid of it quickly, eh?
Yeah, touch wood. What's been in your glass last couple of days? Anything been annoying you?
I've been keeping up the end of the drink responsibly part of pod. So, after Glasgow, I had the whole week off the sauce, and then I had a weekend, and that was a sensible weekend, but I still didn't feel 100%. So I've had no alcohol all week. And so there's nothing in my glass since Monday. There was on the pod when we recorded on Monday.
Yeah.
Had a nice few drams in. But since then, no alcohol. Tonight, just water. So a bit boring, really. But I've also been going to bed at like 9 o'clock. I've had this really mega bug that's run on since Glasgow. Mate. And someone told me it's called Kawasaki or something. I've no idea if they're taking it.
This is Kawasaki. You've given me hand, foot and mouth, and I passed it on to my daughter. I hope you feel guilty.
But I've been going to bed at 9 and waking up at like 7 and then doing the same again the night after and still feeling like I need rest. And usually that kind of sleep would be enough to recharge me for of anything, right?
Yeah.
No. Especially if I'm completely detoxed like on water and all that stuff, I would just usually just come out.
I'm telling you, it's like the latest strain of COVID. You had it. I've definitely had it. It just knocks your immune system. So anything, I'm picking up more colds and stuff than I've ever picked up in my life.
I think so.
Horrific.
But I'm just trying to give myself a chance, like with just letting my liver be free for a few days. So I'll probably have a drink on the weekend. Nothing mad. Now, what's been up my arse is we both talked about the Tyson and Jake Paul fights. We don't need to get into details of that, but I've been watching the fallout of it on Instagram and just all these pull punches, and it's just making me more upset about it. Right?
Did we discuss it on the last pod, or
we didn't discuss it?
After?
We discussed it after the pod when we were just having like a post-pod drink.
Fucking terrible.
Absolutely terrible. I got up so early for that, and we both said that the fight between the two ladies, the Irish lady and the Puerto Rican, was incredible. Yeah. But what's been up my arse is, again, Instagram. So partly it's clips of Tyson clearly throwing the fight. I'm happy to go on record and say that.
Not throwing punches.
Not throwing punches. Not throwing punches. And also, and this one's very particular, and this isn't exclusive to Instagram, this is any kind of social media. And I implore you, if you're the kind of person that does this, if you make content from your front car seat or whilst you're in the car, just don't stop. It's so lazy. Like, you're asking me to watch a video of you, and you can only be bothered to do it when you're on the way to somewhere or coming back from somewhere. You're not even putting everything into it.
I don't know if
do you live in your car? I make an exception. If you live in your car, if you're like homeless and your car is your home and that's all you have, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you've got a home or any other residences that you can use or any other outdoor space, please use that instead of your car seat. I just don't get it. Like,
I feel like we need to start doing just voiceovers of other people's content, because that is seemingly all people fucking do online now, is talk over other people's hard work. Anything I turn on YouTube now, I get loads of American football stuff for the LA Chargers.
Okay.
And there was a kid reviewing like his reaction to watching the highlights, and he's just there like chopping his mouth. He's in his room. He's recording on like earphones. There's no attempt to do any editing. He hasn't touched the video. It's just raw, someone else's content. And I'm like, you've got like 1 million views, you prick. I'm wasting hours here.
It's just, I feel like it's just a time thing. Like, I think I told you this before, but like that Tom Skinner's really blown up. He used to be on The Apprentice online. And he's all over my timeline, but I presume all over lots of people's timelines. And so I claimed the Instagram profile Tom Skintner, and I was basically just going to do bad impressions of him, like at a calf, like no look pouring the gravy, and then it'd always end with me saying, instead of a bosh, I'd say a bush, but I'd be stood next to a bush, right? That was the whole thing. I've got it all planned out in my head, but I just don't have the time to do it. I don't have the time to do it. In fact, the great thing is I don't have to lose weight.
Like 2 minutes a day.
I don't even have to lose weight because it's not even like he's skinny, right? No. So it's perfect.
Mate.
Yeah. I know.
That's lazy.
It is lazy, but I should do it, but just do it from my front car seat.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'll just point the camera out the window to a bush.
Yeah. And have it playing over the top of one of his videos as well.
yeah. Just me. Yeah. My video on top of his video. I hate when people do that. Anyway, you're winding me up even more.
Yes.
So, on to the purpose of the episode, right? So we were on day 3 in Glasgow. So we can do this bit in short, I guess. We basically got up and we went for a lovely Sunday roast, didn't we?
We missed rubbish breakfast. We went for a nice meal, Sunday roast, bottle of wine.
Beautiful.
And then headed to a really unknown pub called O'Neill's to watch some rugby.
I've never heard of this.
A unique standalone Irish bar that we had to sit outside because they were showing the Celtic match inside. So we were like outcasts watching rugby, which was weird for me.
Especially in Scotland when the rugby was on.
Yeah, it was bizarre. Cause I'm like, I don't know, maybe it just shows how football orientated the place is compared to what I'm used to. But and then we trotted along from there. What did we do then?
We ended up at the pot still in the end.
Did we go for food?
No, we didn't. We got takeaway later on in the day.
Yeah.
But we went to the pot still, we sat down and we met some lovely people and we tried some lovely drams. And I think that's when we tried this Kalila unpeated 11-year-old.
Yes.
Which we were both so taken with.
Oh my God. Absolute magnificent dram.
It's so good. It cut through all the other drams of the weekend for me.
I'm trying to think what else we had. I had a Balmenic, a 9-year-old Balmenic, which was £4.60 a dram.
I love the fact you remember how much it was a dram.
Oh, because it was just so cheap. And I think I went, "Are you sure?" And the manager went, "Why? What is it?" And he came over to check, and he went, "Yeah, it's an older one. That's been there a while. Yeah, it's £4.60. That was good. What else did we have? We met Kolos and Boris.
Yes, and that lovely couple, and the lovely.
What were the old couple called?
I can't remember. They were so nice.
Oh, I don't know.
They'd moved up to Scotland from sort of
up
Midlands or northern area of England. Yeah, they loved it. And they loved the fact they could just go to the pot still and have a pint and a dram.
Yeah,
they were talking whiskey clubs, weren't they?
She was good, man. She was picking out stuff. She bought us a Klein Leash, didn't she?
Oh, it was
like
there was a lot of buying
and
sharing of drams going on. It turned into a real social. Basically, what happened was there was 3 separate tables, and then we all just started chatting to each other, and we all just like hung out for like a couple of hours.
Merged.
Yeah, it was lovely. Yeah.
But for me, the dram, obviously, dram of the night was the Kalila 11.
Oh, you do agree with that then? That's not just group 100%.
Thing. Unpeated, wow. Kalila was beautiful. And then second, like borderline second, was a James Eady 7-year-old peated Fing Lassie.
Oh, you sent me a link to that.
Yeah, it's on Master and Malt. It looks like they got a lot in stock, so I'm just waiting to see if that comes up in Black Friday or anything, because Boys We Met can't get Master of Malt in their country.
Okay. So we can send
I might have to do some... dispatch some olive oil to their country.
You managed to stay in touch with so many people. I'm so impressed with your sort of social networking skills. But that Kalila, I'm just grumpy. That Kalila, 11-year-old unpeated.
Yeah.
Why was it so magical? What was it about that?
It was just like a fruit bomb, from what I remember. Just like stunning.
It was like viscous. It had the saltiness and so viscous.
Yeah.
And there was zero peat. But it was like clinging around your mouth.
Yeah,
I seem to remember it was kind of fruity and caramelly with like I think it was like sea salted caramel and fruit.
My tasting notes I can't recall because we drunk a lot of Guinness, Magners, wine, and everything.
But that just punched through everything, didn't it?
Like a palate cleanser, if you will. Yeah, lovely.
So they're the 2 recommendations.
100 to 110 quid a bottle, though. So
it's pricey.
I think we discussed it at the time when we were drinking it and said, although it's expensive, it is worth it because that is a lovely, lovely dram. So if you were going to treat yourself maybe for Christmas or treat someone else, they may scoff at the age statement on there, but it's an official bottling Kalila. I can't remember the ABV. I want to say cask strength, and it is stunning.
It is cask strength.
It's kind of worth, to me, I'd be happy paying 100, 110.
I think it's come down to sort of 95 on a couple of websites. Ooh. I would see if I could maybe get another 5 off that or something. But it's one of those ones that's really dumb. Like, I loved it so much, and yet I'm going to like really quibble over the price. Yet it was head and shoulders above everything else that I can try that I remembered that
psychological. Day. Hitting that 3 figure is just like, gut-wrenching. I hate paying full price for anything. I always want at least 5% off.
Well, it's funny you should say that because at the time of recording, a lot of the Black Friday deals have launched. And today there was a lot of people scuttling to buy a bottle of tequila cask finished Lagavulin 13-year-old, I want to say.
Fair.
56-ish%, down from 140 to 50 pounds.
How old?
50 quid. It's like 13-ish years. It's last year's special release. So it's like, young teens, but tequila finished Lagavulin. Yeah.
The Diageo bottlings are being released at the price they should have been sold at in the first place.
50 quid. I mean, if they'd released it at sort of 80 quid, it probably would have sold a lot more, wouldn't it?
I'd love to make a point to Diageo. I think I'm still blocked. So fuck you, Diageo GB, from me.
So anyway, Black Friday started. The deals are kicking off left, right and centre. I think the deals are pretty big. And there was another one that stood out to me, which was already good value, which is the Thompson Brothers 8-year-old Highland Blended Malt, the one with the Tesco's label.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's usually 34 quid-ish, which is already good value. Yeah. Down to 27.50-ish or something on Amazon.
I saw the Adelphi blend at £20.50 or something stupid. And I'm like, oh, man.
I wish I had empty cupboards so I could stock up without knowing I'm getting too much.
I wish I had just £1,000 to drop on just like cheap whiskey, because you could you could easily fill a load of cupboards right now for £1,000.
You could. The deals are there's going to be more deals coming out, so this is some crazy discounting we're seeing going on this time. I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe that's a
there's more than
challenge.
that.
If someone out there has £1,000 sitting around and you're going, I want a whiskey collection, go and do it. Go and build yourself
Black
a little
Friday
empire.
whiskey collection.
Yeah. Like
You could do it.
Just focus on bottles, 20 to 50 quid, and just load it up and send us your pictures.
Master of Malt, if you are, Master of Malt have Ugadale at 55 quid.
Old school price, yeah, good.
Yeah, just normal price. Good to see. Yeah. They've got a few other bottles reduced from. So, yeah. I mean, you said it doesn't taste of much. I think that's fair enough. The Talisker Distillers Edition is on there for like 36 quid on Master of Malt.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's £2 less.
It was with Prime. It's like £33.
That really fucked me off, actually.
We're going
it's
into
£2. It's pathetic.
We're going into a price rant now, but point is, loads of deals out there at the moment. So keep your eyes open and be patient. That's what I would say, is don't buy the first thing you see. I've still got that bottle of Lagavulin when Whiskey Exchange did it. You had to buy 2 bottles. It was like, I bought a bottle of PC10 or something. Yeah. It was like 2 bottles for 110 quid and you got a bottle of Lagavulin something rather with port and sherry in it or whatever.
Yeah.
You got the Kalina, yeah, that's right.
But, yeah.
So
day 4.
Day 4. Well, we woke up fresh as daisy.
We were going home day 4. So what do you do before you fly home? Obviously, go and do a distillery tour at Loch Lomond with one and only Gary Mills.
We should big up Gary Mills massively here because basically Gary got on the blower. He's calling us at the Whiskey Festival. Yeah. He's going, boys, you coming to Loch Lomond on Monday? We're like,
why didn't you tell me you were in town?
Do you not like me or something? No, we do, Gary. We really do. But we can't call everybody we know that lives in Scotland when we come to Scotland. So he persuaded us to go along. Not much persuasion.
Got the train. He picked us up, took us to the site of the old Little Mill distillery, what's left of it. And then, it was straight to Loch Lomond. And do you know what was the most... I didn't mention it at the time, just because it was easier. So you were dressed as what can only be described as an American tourist or like a hipster writer with your little glasses, a jacket, and
baseball cap.
Like baseball cap. You literally looked American. And I said to you, God, you look like a fucking American tourist as we walked through the door of Loch Lomond.
Yeah.
Only to bump into Greg, the American tourist.
Well, an American tourist with a pedigree in making booze.
Owns or runs a vineyard over in California.
But Greg was so lovely, he didn't care.
I was just like, oh, fucking dickhead. Literally, just like, why you had to time that so
You
bad.
timed it. I thought to myself, if he's American now, he's like, hey, guys.
Shit. Say a boot, be Canadian. No, American, California.
Yeah, so we rocked up and then we're going to get a private tour. This is a really privilege, so we want to say thank you. Mm-hmm. And we also, warning, the next part of the podcast will be towards educational.
Yes.
Because we were...
Serious whiskey pod.
This is going nerdy now. Because we, as much as we make jokes and stuff, like Loch Lomond it's like the sort of sweet factory of making
It's
whiskeys.
The Willy Wonka of whiskey.
It is. They've got more stuff than anybody else. When you go there, you go to other distilleries, the other distilleries are going to seem a bit boring because they just don't do anywhere near as much stuff. Like, they've got everything at Loch Lomond, right? Yeah. Literally everything. They've got their own cooperage.
And that's where we started. So like Gary... And I've been to the cooperage before, but it just gobsmacks me. And nothing had changed, obviously. But gone in, saw the chaps working away on barrels, and then Gary showed us some tools that the boys are using to scrape the ash and things out of it. And he's like, this one is over like 150 years old, and it's his father's tool, and it's been handed down. And you could see where he held it, and basically their fingerprints have worked their way into the metal. And there's like, he's like, this is a new one, and this is what his looks like, and it's just barely holding on. But
and the size difference of how much they'd worn down over the years. Like, amazing. This tool, there's like centimeters and centimeters of metal had disappeared. Yeah. And they've got all the traditional stuff, and they've got all the fancy machines now as well. And there's a whole bunch of fellas working there. But obviously the machines help to lessen the strain on them because it's such a physical job. And
massive.
Gary also showed us some of the dodgy casks that they get sent because, they're getting lots of like casks from different...
Jack Daniels.
And what they've done
cowboys of the barrel world, apparently.
They just chopped like alligator scales and stuff inside. And
instead of doing any work to like maybe attempt an STR, JD have just basically taken an angle grinder and just cut straight into the wood sideways, just all through it. And it's like, no, what are you doing?
Do you know one thing that really stood out to me was watching the guys move the casks and the barrels around.
Yeah.
The way they just the balance and move these heavy casks, whether they're moving them from A to B or they're just keeping them in one place, but they're keeping them upright. It's an art, isn't it, really?
It's something Gary said. He was referring to one of the Coopers that's sort of probably not far off approaching sort of retirement. He said, I was speaking to him and we were on like a ramp, basically. So pretty hard to just even stand there. He said it wasn't until 10 minutes of talking to him, I looked down, I've realised he's been spinning a barrel with one finger the entire time on this ramp. And it's like, what? A massive bourbon barrel that weigh a ton.
I wish I could remember all the machines, but I'm just going to say there's about 5 to 6 different machines and processes that they go through. And of course, they showed us like a barrel getting like charred inside, which is awesome, and the ramps and everything. But there was also some sort of like weird pressurizing machine or something, and something that goes above and below.
Well, it's basically once they finish the cask, it's filled with water and pressurized to replicate being a full cask, so they can see immediately if that's going to leak. Yeah. And if it doesn't leak, that's sound for the next sort of like 20 years, basically. Yeah.
That's what happens. So, that's when you get that deeper level of knowledge when you've been through the tour twice, Mike. That's what happens.
Yeah. I just listened.
So really, 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 really quality. And I think, and maybe I remember this right, I think I remember Gary saying there's only 4 Scottish distilleries with cooperages still.
There was a number, it was low.
I think it was 4, but you know, if we've got that wrong, it's definitely low anyway. So it's really impressive to see such a big one on site.
Sorry, I didn't realize you disappeared with Gary.
Hey, there was something I did manage at the distillery.
Yeah. Back to number 2.
Yeah, back to number 2. So,
the boards. You got obsessed.
Well, I've written these boards down, but think of it visually as we're walking through it. So the first thing we really went to see was the milling, right?
Yeah, got up to see their Porteous machine.
Which is, I think, from the 50s, which is perhaps the oldest bit of machinery they had at the distillery.
Yeah. Basically, I think
other than the stuff in the actual manual tools the Coopers had, right?
You'll hear people sort of a lot of distilleries say it like when they've got these Porteous machines, they were made so well the company went bust because everyone that needed one had one, and then that
didn't need to replace any parts. Just worked.
Done. So they did obviously milling on site. What else did they do?
Well, they
had a stoner on site, didn't they?
Yeah, which is super random. It's just taking stones out.
You don't see stoners often in a distillery, not inside anyway. And it removes all the stones from the grain when it's delivered. So if they can basically say, well, look, you've sent us 15 tons and you've got a ton of it, for example, that's obviously not correct. It's stone, so I'm not paying you for the full thing. So yeah, it's amazing that other distilleries are probably actually trying to distill stone. They
just do everything on site that they can. I think that was the ethos. So they could buy in, barley that's been destoned or whatever, but they don't want to. They want to just do it themselves because they can. So they mill 100% Scottish barley using peated and unpeated malted barley. And like you said, they use the Porteous machine, and they got 8 malt hoppers, each with 40 tons capacity. That's big. Basically,
big numbers.
Pretty big. And so you kind of, from the stoner, you're walking around a lot of steps. It's like from the de-stoner, you're walking around a lot of steps, aren't you? And then you get into the mashing area, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
I think Gary put it right. Like, if you would design this factory, it would not look like it does now. It's just basically when we got this space and then we just had to build around the stills that are in there, basically. And as it expands, we're just squeezing stuff in.
I loved it as we were walking around. He goes, mind your head, gents. Not you, Duncan. You're all right.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. Just watch your feet. And also, before we even started the tour, Gary, he gave me an extra special speech. He went, Duncan, don't touch anything. Definitely don't touch anything that looks hot. Don't touch anything. Actually, just don't touch anything, Duncan. So the mashing thing, there's in terms of mash tons, they do 4 times 6 hour mashes per day. That's 9.5 tons of grist. Mash tuns produce 40 to 50,000 litres of wort. outputs of malting process field 2 times 25 litres indoors or 1 times 50,000 litres outdoors. Now, some of this stuff still goes a bit over my head, but the scale of it when you're there, when you're looking at these giant containers, these giant mash tuns, the steel
and the
ones,
fermentation tanks.
and the fermentation tanks are massive, right?
Huge.
Just huge.
Absolutely freaking huge.
Like huge. You look down, they're just enormous, and there's so many of them. And you kind of already have this sense that you're just in a small part of you haven't got, you've got a lot more to go, right?
Yeah.
And then you move on to the fermentation area, and they do a 92-hour fermentation. They use 4 different types of yeast, so they can get different types of flavors on the still.
And by that point, most of the yeast will be long dead that they've used. So I was asking, do you add stuff? And they don't add any more yeast. It's all basically then continued fermentation with the bacteria that has built up inside the wort. And then I was like, do you add bacteria to that? Like, nope, it's just all natural. Let it build, let it brew. And that's where the fruity sort of...
That's it. It goes into secondary, doesn't it?
Even more because it's that, because it's the extra...
So it's
not an extra fermentation, but it's like the bacteria causes that extra sort of fermentation effect.
So if you sort of refocus on how they describe Loch Lomond, especially that sort of core range spirits, they'll say it's like honey sweetness, it's fruity with the estuary fruity notes, and then it's got a slight hint of smoke. And so this fermentation is what's really bringing the fruitiness to it. Yeah, right.
Massively.
Yeah. Just for anyone that's geeky out there, capacity, you've got 21 washbacks, 10 with 25 litres capacity inside and 11 outside, which holds 50,000 litres. Whoosh. Nice. Then we moved on to the malt distillation, which is obviously the most fun part, right? Where...
Hell yeah.
Yeah, by quite some distance. So I feel like Gary spent a lot of time with us looking at that destoning machine.
I mean, I was impressed by the destoner.
I was impressed as well. Yeah. It was like, this is pretty rare for us to have this.
We probably didn't need to spend 45 minutes looking at it, Gary.
45 minutes and then rush around at the end.
Yeah. It is a nice destoner machine, but the time well spent on better things.
Yeah. So you go in and there's that section where they're producing the malt with the stills, and they're just popping up everywhere. They're just everywhere, right? And they're different shapes because they've got the straight neck ones, haven't they? They've got the traditional swan neck ones.
So you've got like the pot still with the swan neck. You've got the pot still with the column, which is not a Faraday, but it is.
What they say officially is they've got 2 styles. They've got straight neck and they've got swan neck pot stills, and they use different cut points and peated unpeated. So they can create 9 different types of single malt.
Yeah.
And they still have the kind of traditional bit in that room where you can just try the new make as it's coming off.
Yeah, the spirit safe.
Yeah, which is super fun. Right,
yeah, but it's the first time I've dipped my finger into the spirit that's coming straight off the stills and tasted it at, what was it, like 90% or 80%?
80 plus, isn't it? It's very high. Yeah.
To the point where if you put it on the front of your tongue, you can't taste anything. It just sort of burns it. And then if you put it at the back, you can actually taste a bit of fruit and things. Yeah. So old-fashioned spirit safe, which you can see in most distilleries.
But we saw both, because we saw that and we saw the newer version which was fully automated in the next room, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Which you got a really cool mini video of.
Yeah.
Where you can't get your finger in it. It's like in a metal box.
It's permanently or constantly reading the alcohol level. So as soon as it hits that special point at which Michel Henry says it needs to come off at this point today.
Yeah.
And there was lots of there were lots of white stickers with crossed out numbers underneath, and it's like, today we're 78.
Crazy.
Yeah, we'll take it off at 78%, whereas yesterday it was 79.
Well, 78 now.
Yeah.
78 now.
Now. And then obviously moved on from then the single malt distillation through to the single grain distillation. So massive bloody towers, essentially, is probably the best way of describing it. Continuous distillation. 2
pairs of continuous coffee grain stills, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because in total they've got 13 stills. It's quite,
and they're copper. They're surrounded by they look like white metal, but it's not. They're just surrounded by insulation and stuff. But essentially, they got fucked over by the SWA because they installed them on the premise that they can run them with malted barley, run them continuously through copper. So you're not doing anything different than you would a normal single malt. But then the SWA, I think 2 months before it was 3 years old, decided that it has to be, the base of it has to be a pot still. So you can't do a column still. So they were not allowed to sell that stuff as single malt. So it went down as single grain. That's how they sort of got around it slightly. But yeah, typical SWA, just fucking people over.
It's what it is. So they're one of the only distilleries in Scotland to use 100% malted barley in the grain production. So, gives this a single grain a unique character. And set the spirit off the stills at 85% apparently there, rather than 94% to retain more character. I mean, look, we've both drunk a lot of Loch Lomond. So I think this is why, well, especially this is the second time you've been, but this is why I was really paying attention. Like, it's one of those ones where they're relying a lot more on the spirit than the casks. The casks are an important part of it, but they're really putting more weight on the spirit. And so trying to understand how they do that, when you have all these new distillery editions, you like hear about this coffee neck whatever and swan neck this and straight neck that, and you're like, this type of yeast and this process, and you can't really picture it. And then you're walking around and you see like all the production equipment, and you understand then all the different types of spirit that they can make, and then you see things like the lab and all this other techie stuff, and you're like, wow, these guys are taking this mega seriously. Okay?
And I think other people are, well, 100% people are catching on, because there's more of a focus on yeast. So distilleries that are now doing well are really focusing efforts on what yeast they're using and how that's going to create a entirely different taste than you make to other people. And the more you experiment with that, the more you can replicate something. If someone's done something amazing, why wouldn't you want to replicate to get a similar base spirit to put into your own sort of casks and things, and change it slightly to give it a different spin? So yeah, they are leaps and bounds, they were leaps and bounds ahead of people, and they just continue with how they were doing things so differently to anyone else.
I feel like we missed a bit about there's a bit at the end with the continuous distillation, where they're doing sort of 90% wheat, 10% malted barley, and they've got more capacity there. But there's just so many strings to their bow overall, right?
Yeah.
But the differences in the stills, and when you're on that floor and you're like walking about, very cool. They're producing the single malt. Yeah. Very, very cool.
Do you know what's even cooler?
Go on.
Racks and racks of barrels.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. I didn't forget. I mean, we went in. They're like, Garris is like one of our warehouses, right? So we go in. He's like, oh, you can have a look around with all the casks. Yeah. And sort of, I'm like, straight away, I'm like 1978 Glenlivet. I'm like, oh, they got some really old ones in here.
So they've got ones that are obviously being racked old style on their side, because they've got the availability to have like a stainless steel structure where they can age things properly, dunnage style. Yeah. And I was like, have you got any palletized stuff? And he was like, oh yeah. So he's like, took us to another warehouse.
Yeah, they're all standing straight up.
Arch your neck. We are about 8 barrels high, I think, at least, for like, it was like the X-Files. Do you remember that, like, so the end scene from X-Files where it's zoomed out and it's just huge warehouse.
Just trying to look right up as high as you can. I have to be honest, I looked up, and first thing I was looking for is, I mean, I know they're super professional company, but I was just looking like, is everything secure? Because I was like, because it's one of those, you see on the videos and stuff, and someone nudges something in a warehouse and everything comes down, right? Everything gets crushed. Everything was secure, happy to report. But it's so high that you just feel a little bit out of control walking around, because they're stacked to the ceiling, and the ceiling is miles up. And we spotted some Tamdu.
We spotted some Tamdu in there, and we also spotted the secret area where the Chinese barrels are aging.
With the video cameras.
That are under surveillance from the Chinese government.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. The Chinese government is officially watching these barrels at all times.
And
I wonder if there's a bloke that's paid to watch that webcam.
Probably.
He's like, oh, someone's in there. Fucking bastards. Get on the phone.
Wait, those two people do not look trustworthy. Get them out now. Someone's on the phone. Someone calls Gary up. That wasn't Michael about something else.
Yeah. We'll get onto that.
It was like the car showroom area of the Loch Lomond
yes, it was.
Cask
That's a very
storehouse.
Good
It's like, when you go into if you go into like a secondhand car lot, that was like all of the other casks stored on their side are upright, perfectly fine, very respectable, tidy, all looks nice. But you go into the Chinese section, it was like the Audi or the BMW section, like all brand new. Everything's like glossy. All the fronts of the casks like beautiful, like painted up.
Yeah.
Like video cameras, even the floor looked cleaner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
So beautiful section. Very, very polished.
Yes.
We also saw a cat when we were walking. I forgot, and we were like, I was onto this cat, and Gary's like, "No, I've never seen that cat before."
Oh, we were like, "Yeah, is that your distillery cat?" He's
nothing.
Like, nope,
distillery,
stray, wandering through.
And Gary spent a long time bending our ear about those buildings outside that they clearly don't want to be there anymore. Did you notice that?
There's a lot of room,
dilapidated, ruined
expansion.
buildings. Yeah.
Still in use. There's a lot of woolen mills.
We still don't know who. So we're in the car park outside watching like a lorry unload a whole bunch of grain, right?
Yeah.
And we just suddenly spotted somebody had an absolutely immaculate Ford Escort, like an E-Reg.
Oh, yeah.
It was like
really
a Mark
Mark
II. Light blue sort of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Mark II
beautiful.
Ford Escort. Pristine condition.
Pristine. Someone is a
Gary's
very
like, should we go inside? I'm like, hang on, mate. I'm looking at this Ford Escort here. Chill your boots, son.
Still don't know who owned that. Love to know.
I reckon it was Greg. I reckon he rented it.
Probably. Oh man,
Greg he didn't want to admit it. Didn't want us to be seen as flashy.
Greg was a dude. So we've had a lovely tour. Then we go to the tasting room after
we did
that, and Gary, works a bit of his magic. They take you through the new makes so you can understand the different types of flavour that they're getting from into the spirits. It ranges really kind of like sort of sweet, some sort of sour fruit notes coming through, more kind of like cereally.
It was amazing how just taking it off the stills at a slightly different ABV completely changed the new make, like totally changed it.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same ingredients, it's the exact same sort of flavour profile, but tastes nothing like it just because it's come off at a different strength.
I still feel like Inch Murin was my favourite new make.
Yeah, although I did like, there were samples out of Rosdu. Rosdu?
It's
Rosdu. So Rosdu, and they had an oat new make and a rye new make.
Yes.
They were mega, the pair of them. The rye, not overbearing with the spice, but like a really nice level of sort of spiciness to it. And the oat one was just like creamy, super.
I like the oat one.
I would have drunk the oat one on its own. Like, don't even put it in a barrel. I'll have that. Just water it down a touch from 60-odd%, wherever it was. Take a little bit of water. Because new make it's not the same as drinking a cask strength matured whiskey. A cask strength or a high ABV new make will kick the shite out of you because it hasn't had all those edges and stuff.
Yeah, if you're going to try it, you just got to have it ever such a tiny bit. Just sort of let it touch your mouth. You can't be taking any
that
kind of.
That one's lovely, really nice.
So then, it's a beautiful little room, by the way. It's got these beautiful chairs that have been made out of like trees or something like that, and
they were antlers. I've tried stealing one before, but
antlers as well.
Couldn't get it in the car last time.
Trees and antlers,
unfortunately.
So very cool. And then Gary treated us to try 1991 Little Mill
and
1984.
1984 Little Mill. I think the 91 was just Burbs, and then the 94, I want to say, the 84 was Oloroso.
Yep, that's it. So that was it. Yeah, 1984 was Oloroso. We all agreed the ex-Burbs was better.
Yeah,
but it was.
If you're gonna drop $4,000 on a bottle, go for the 91. Don't go for the other one.
It was magical, wasn't it? I couldn't believe how vibrant it was for such an old whiskey. It actually reminded me, didn't taste the same as, but this level of vibrancy for an old whiskey reminded me of that Ben Nevis that I was lucky to try with Paul that time, the 32-year-old from 1964, where I couldn't get my head around how vibrant it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think Gary said Little Mill it did not work as a remotely young whiskey. It really had to be one of those ones you just grind out for years and years and just wait for it to age, because it was just not nice until it hit like a nice,
but it was delicious
good level of double figures, not just like your 20s.
It kind of gave me sort of, it was in the same kind of ballpark as Imperial. Like that's what I thought. Not the same as, but in the same kind of ballpark. So if you haven't tried one and you want to sort of picture what an ex-bourbon Little Mill from the early 90s might be like,
nice,
kind of imperially in my view. But and then Gary was going to take us for a spot of lunch, which went absolutely super smoothly.
We did try some other whiskies.
Oh, we did. Oh, I'm so sorry.
We
We
did.
did. What else did we try? What else can we talk about, Mike?
So
What are we allowed to talk about?
We're allowed to talk about the travel retail ones.
Right, yeah.
Which were what they called the Remarkable Ingenuity series, and it's basically all different types of woods.
I saw them at the airport as I was going
I
back.
saw them.
Yeah.
Couldn't buy them because we were domestic flights.
Lovely display.
There's a Waypoint series, and the 16 is out now. Release number 1, 82 quid. We've had a cheeky little sample of release number 2.
Ooh,
And
there we go.
I'm not going to tell you the age, not going to tell you anything about it, but liked it.
Yeah.
Very nice indeed. Ashley came in as well.
Yes, Ashley Smith.
Yeah, as she entered, would you believe there was some Scotia floating around again?
Some
which we can't talk
future
about.
release, Glen Scotia.
Future release.
Very exciting to try, though, wasn't it? So you're welcome to have fun guessing what we tried, but we literally can't talk about it. So all we can say was that it was cool. It's good.
Really good.
Really good to try.
I was going to say, it's going to be worth waiting on some of the releases for next year. That's what I'm saying. So exciting times ahead. For Loch Lomond,
So
as always.
So many, big thanks to Gary and thanks very much to Ashley. It was great to try that Little Mill 1991, one of the best whiskies of the weekend. Great to try Future Scotia and some of the travel releases and the new make.
Yeah.
Good times.
And like you said, so we had to hand our high-vis jackets in.
Yeah.
We picked up our gear, our normal bags and jackets, and we left, didn't we?
Got in the car, and Gary just had to pick up a tux because he personally was going for an award.
An award
the
ceremony.
distillery was going for the was it the IWSC or something like that? International,
I can't remember what
International
Loch Lomond
Spirits
won,
competition.
something good.
International Whiskey and Spirits or something like that competition.
Yeah.
Anyway, they won. So Gary was picking up his suit. So there was an ongoing joke when we got in the car because Gary had a booster seat. So every time I got in and out of the car, I was like, am I taking the booster seat inside, Gary? Should I take it in for lunch? So Gary's car was fairly full with suit jackets and men, right?
Yes.
So we get in the car. We're going to go for a spot of lunch. We picked up a suit jacket. Gary gets a phone call. Over to you, Michael.
So phone goes, and it's a really strong French accent comes on and basically says, Mike and Duncan have stolen someone's jacket.
Did he say Mike and Duncan? I feel like he said those two. Look, listen, at that point, it was either those two, they.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Mike and Duncan. It was either those two or they. I cannot confirm or deny which one was said. But it was definitely a reference to us.
Either Mike and Duncan or two. Greg was not involved.
It was definitely a reference to us.
Yeah.
We have stolen someone's jacket.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I've only got my crappy plastic, rain jacket that's making me look like
American
an American tourist
jacket on.
It's definitely not me. So I'm looking at you. I'm like having a bit of a panic. We're driving
along. I'm wearing nothing but a hoodie at all times, as per usual. And
what happens?
Yeah, turns out Big Gary in the front, wearing his nice woolen jacket, looks down and goes, "I did wonder where those pin badges came from."
He's taken some other fella's jacket.
He's picked up the wrong jacket, but
or coat, whatever you're looking at.
Recognised that there's pin badges that he doesn't know, and still gone.
It'll do. It's close enough.
It's mine.
It's close enough.
So yeah, he's gone back. Swapped the jacket.
No, but before that,
blamed us still.
He gets out of the car. I swear he takes the jacket off. I'm sure he went in and said, "I'm so sorry they've taken the jacket, Michael.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry."
He's definitely going to have blamed us. It was him.
But do you know what? In the end, he bought us lunch and he took us around the distillery. So even if we did get the blame for the jacket, it's all right.
And if there's any questions, I've got a photo of him in the stolen jacket driving his car.
No, Mike, it's all right. It's our little secret. We'll just keep it between ourselves. It's not a problem.
Keep it to ourselves and sort of 200 to 300 people that listen.
Oh man! So he took us for a lovely lunch to Duck Bay. So many thanks. We had a nice sit down chat. We talked about Chinese surveillance and other things.
As always with me.
Yeah. Whilst we were by some nice look.
Great views, just stunning. And then obviously came to time for the bill. Gary stepped up. Don't you worry, boys. I got this. I'm like, oh God, he's taking his time, isn't he? He's gone to pay. And basically, he had to do the washing up. Card refused to work.
It's a corporate.
Gary rolled
card.
up his sleeves.
It was a corporate card. He was unlucky. Gary had to borrow my phone to call somebody to sort it out. He was not having the best day. He's taken some other fella's jacket. His phone stopped working. He's got a problem with his corporate card. At this point, we're talking to anyway. But beautiful lunch, lovely company. And
thank you, Gary, for the food.
Patience,
thank you, Greg, for the company.
Top work. And he dropped us off the airport.
Got a lift to the airport. I was like, bye, Duncan. I'm off to the BA lounge. See you later.
Oh my days! What did I even do? I think I just went inside at the airport and just sat on the chair and just had a little snooze for like 2.5 hours, and then went and went through security. I was very tired, Mike.
I went and got some. There was pies in there, haggis pies with peas. Now he's come back to me, so that is the traditional one.
Peas is traditional. Who was telling us baked beans? That was Billy. Never trust Billy.
Yeah, fucking shocking. And then I grabbed 3 cans of Iron Brew to take home with me.
Right.
I grabbed 3 cans of the Brewdog BA Special Edition ones, and then sat down with a nice Talisker.
That sounds delightful. There was one thing. So basically, you rinsed. You rinsed BA. Now,
rinsed it.
There's a lovely thing to end up. Gary told us a lovely anecdote at lunch, and I'd almost forgotten it, from a man called Monty.
Oh yes,
and Guy is a big fan of Loch Lomond, and so Monty come to the distillery for a tour.
I'd say Monty allegedly sounds like one of the biggest fans of Loch Lomond in the world.
Mega fan.
Yeah.
So Monty's gone to the distillery and he's taken he scored apparently 0 out of 5 in a blind tasting, Loch Lomond 18, but obviously was shocked to find that it was Loch Lomond 18. So took the bottle along to the distillery to have Michael check the batch.
To
have Michel Henry check the batch of it, just to make sure. Michel Henry is obviously a no-nonsense fella, straight down the line, straight talking. So he had a sip of it, went and got the same, not just another one to compare it to, one from exactly the same batch. The same exact batch. Came it, tried both.
There's nothing wrong with that bottle.
They're exactly the same. So our heart goes out to you, Monty. It really does.
Monty. The life of Monty.
Now you listen here. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Now go away.
But anyway, what an anecdote, Gary. Made our day, especially also the lovely chat with Greg, right?
Yes.
From Chinese surveillance and a variety of things, the overuse of mobile phones amongst kids these days. We had a lovely spot of lunch, put the worlds to rights, and then a bit of a trip back. And we had a great weekend in Glasgow. I think if you're thinking about going to Glasgow and you're like, oh, you'll have a great time.
Yeah.
Especially if you like a whiskey or a pint and you like the sport. Great place, really friendly people. Everyone was lovely. We had a lovely weekend.
And it was Greg from the Chalone Vineyard in California.
Chalone. Spell it for people. That'll help.
Chalone.
Okay.
Chalone Vineyard.
Pulled off a big company. I remember him saying that the person that owns the company also owns Bournemouth Football Club and some other American teams and ice hockey. Was
it the Eagles and ice hockey?
So much stuff. The guy's owns loads of sports teams. Yeah. Anyway, Greg was a dude. Yeah.
Greg was an absolute.
If you want to picture Greg, if you haven't seen, he's from California. He had long hair. He was like a dude.
Yeah.
Okay. If you like the podcast, thank you so much for listening. If you listen to it on like Spotify or Apple or something else, give us a 5-star. We really appreciate it. Or tell a mate. Or do both.
Social media, you will find us at Honest to a Malt. You'll find myself at Whiskey Wings. You'll find Duncan at Whiskey Tip. You can find the Honest to a Malt website at www.honesttoamalt.com. Have a look at the blogs. There's articles around SMWS codes, Tesco value deals,
stuff,
all sorts of stuff. Yeah, check us out. And thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next one. Bye bye bye.
Whiskey's burning, throat is 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 burning, it is better than water, it is better than water. Unless you're drinking lag, then I'd probably use lemonade or something else like that.